Well, once the votes are counted, it's likely we'll be looking at new leadership in both the House and the Senate, even if Senator Harry Reid pulls out a victory in Nevada. So what will this new congressional makeup look like? Joining me now is Leslie Marshall, a radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, and Karen Hanratty, a Republican strategist. Leslie, let's start with you. What's the new leadership going to be? Who's going to be in charge?
Well, it would seem to be if the polls are accurate, but I do remember the Dewey wins on the front of the newspaper, and even though I'm a pessimist, I'm holding out a little hope. In the House, of course, I wasn't alive then, but the House certainly, it would seem, if polls are accurate, we'll look at John Boehner, and I'm still very optimistic that we'll still be seeing on the Senate side not only a Democratic majority, but Senator Harry Reid as the Senate Majority Leader.
Karen?
No, I think even if Harry Reid is able to hold on tonight, and I predict he won't, I don't think that he will be the next Senate Majority Leader. I think that he's been very badly damaged by what's happened in his campaign. I think he is seen as weak. And I also think that Democrats would be very strategically smart if they chose someone like Chuck Schumer. I think Chuck Schumer is often seen as a liberal. I actually think he's more pragmatic. And in 2012, Democrats have more Senate seats that are open for re-election. They face an even more difficult atmosphere in 2012. They need someone who's going to look out for them much better than Harry Reid did.
All right. Well, Leslie, what if Harry Reid is out? What does it mean for the Obama agenda if he is not in leadership in the Senate?
Well, honestly, in the Senate, you still have a Democratic leader, and I love Chuck Schumer. So if it weren't to be Senator Reid, I would have to say I'd certainly be very pleased with Senator Schumer in that position. And Senator Schumer, for some new GOP members in the Senate, is going to be more difficult to deal with. For the Obama agenda, if you will, I think it's going to be full steam ahead. It'll just be a different way of obtaining that goal.
Well, Karen, when you look at this and you talk about Chuck Schumer being the leader in the Senate, you say he's more pragmatic. Does that mean he would be more likely to compromise with Republicans in the House, maybe find a third way on some of these issues?
Well, when I say he's pragmatic, what I'm looking at is a majority leader who's going to be looking out for his caucus to ensure that his caucus is set up to win seats in 2012 and not lose. They stand to lose far more seats in 2012 than they're going to in the current cycle. I think that Harry Reid did not necessarily serve the Senate Democrats well insofar as he pushed Obama's agenda too far at the detriment of many of his own members and even at his own detriment. I think Chuck Schumer would be much more pragmatic in pushing back on the Obama administration on some of these center-left issues, not necessarily compromising with the Republicans, but pushing back on the Obama administration to make sure that they don't go too far.
So, Leslie, talking about the president, there's been a lot of conversation this week about how much the president will be willing to compromise. Will he be willing to come to the table? He called his political enemies outright, which makes you think that that's his inside voice coming out. What do you think the president's going to be like in these next 24 months?
Well, first of all, specifically he was speaking to Latinos about immigration reform when he said enemies, and he did say this week that opponents would have been a better term, and I agree with him on that. I think he needs to look at history. Bill Clinton did a great job of working alongside his party and with his opponents, the Republicans, and I think the president's going to have to do that, obviously, if there's a Republican majority in the House, and with the dynamic that will change either way in the Senate. So going forward, I don't think he abandons his agenda. I just think that he has to look at, I don't want to say more moderate ways, but he has to look at more conciliatory ways, if you will, in order to get things done and not have a dead 2 years in the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Karen and Leslie, thank you for that. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks a lot.